Good day. Munir Ajam, founder and CEO of Uruk Project Management. Welcome to another video or episode from Uruk Project Management about project management education in general and along the topic of the 4 PMs. Remember, 4 PMs stand for projects, programs, products, and portfolio management. We are recording this as a video, but we will also be using this as a podcast. So, whether you like to listen and see the video presentation or you like to listen, you will be able to enjoy the session, at least we hope so. Today's topic is about project success, and goes along what we call the Uruk way, the 4 dimensions of project success. I will elaborate on the Uruk way inside this session. With this, let's get going. Our agenda is very limited in terms of titles. Really, there are 2 sections of this presentation. The first section is about 2 to 3 slides. We'll talk about vital concept and we'll give you something to think about. And then the rest of this presentation will focus on the 4 dimensions of project success, what they are, how do we use them, and what do they look like. So if you are listening to this via a podcast, via audio, we advise you to try to find the video as well and just at least scan through it so you can see the visual of the 4 dimension. Now, why is this topic? The quick answer is the high rate of project failure in all sectors and domains. What do we mean by this? I'm not going to make this presentation about project success and failure with statistics and a lot of information, since our focus is to provide information about the 4 dimensions. However, regardless who you are or where you come from, there is a very high likely chance that you have heard about high rate of failures, whether in technology project, infrastructure project, or even industrial project. I've done a lot of research in this area and my own personal experiences working over 3 to 4 decades. There definitely we see more failure than success. In some cases, the rate could vary, and basically, I've seen claim where only 1 out of 1,000 projects are successful. This might be where we are looking at a lot of information, and we've seen claim where 70% of projects are successful. So what is the failure rate? Well, we don't know. It varies greatly from industry to industry. It varies greatly on the way how to measure it, and that was one of the problems that led to this presentation and led us to create the 4 dimensions of project success. And so let's go to the next slide and you can start to see what I mean here, where we say we don't know because we don't have a good reference. So the vital concept that I want to share that align with what I'm saying here, it is common based on, again, I've been in this industry for more than 30 years and I've done a lot of research for my books and for my work, and I still do a lot of research. And basically what we see today, it is quite common that many organizations first do not have an established definition or guideline for project success, do not define the criteria for success for their projects. So sometimes they go based on conventional wisdom, common thinking, whatever the case might be. I'm not going to get into the debate on or how do they do it. And remember, I'm not saying every organization, I'm saying many organizations. So let me repeat, do not have an established definition or guideline for project success, do not define the criteria for success for their project and program. And if they have definition or criteria, they might not communicate that definition with the team. So that may be something that is the elite, forgive me for that word, might have, or at least is not communicated, not because it's secret, but probably because it's just not a common practice. Now, if we move away from organization and think now as a community, as a project management community, where do we have issues, right? There are many professional associations, as we know. There are PMI, IPMA, GPM, and a lot of other organizations, AACE. And so there are many professional associations, they talk about project success. We've seen a lot of studies and report, or at least maybe not, I shouldn't say studies. We've seen a lot of literature, marketing material, talk about project success. Even some data that, maybe some questionnaires they were done, right? So they talk. We as a community, professional association and people, people like myself and many others, we talk a lot about project success, but we don't have any guide that outline how we should measure or assess success on project. So that is a big gap that we see today. Many might have definition on project success, but we don't have. I haven't. I mean, and I could be mistaken, right? So I would love to know if there are any professional associations that they have a clear guideline to organization on how to measure and assess success. So if you do find something, please share with our community. I think I'm not the only one. I think all of us would love to see something. I know there are success models out there, but we're talking about the more specific, practical guide. Also, these associations and the community do not have any substantial processes or studies on success. We see some information, and maybe they are published and labeled as studies, but they are probably more like questionnaire or surveys, not real studies, with some exception, of course, out there. They do not offer any guidance on measuring success or benchmarking, so we can tell, for example, how organizations do. There are, here I might stop and then and mention that there is one organization that does benchmarking and project success with a clear definition and guideline. However, that organization is well known within the capital project industry, mostly industrial project, right? And I will give them a shout. It's basically independent project analysis. Because they do a lot of working with client, they do quite a bit of benchmarking and data gathering, and they have a clear definition of project success. However, most of that information is limited for their client and is not really, and they might offer it in training, but it's not general. And the benchmarking and the studies, it's basically done on their clients only. So with these concepts in mind, basically that's one part of the why this topic. Also, there is something else we need to think about. So, and we advise you to think about, and you can pause and listen. With no criteria, if we don't have a criteria within an organization or obviously as a community, but here let's stay focused on organization. With no criteria, how can an organization assess project success and learn for the future? See, I think sometimes we fall into the trap, maybe this is an important part to say here, is that the idea of success or failure, sometimes we avoid it for many reasons. Part of the reason, maybe some organizations fear the idea of having to go into a blame game or find the guilty or these kind of exercise that add no value. When Munir talk about project success and failure, and the whole idea behind this topic and the reason we created the 4 dimension of project success years ago is to try to identify opportunity for learning. We realize that every one of us, every organization is not necessarily great. We start somewhere and then we learn and we improve. We learn and we improve. If we don't accept the idea of continual improvement, then as an organization, sooner or later, we probably cease to exist. Therefore, it's very important for us to understand how can we continuously improve. Now, obviously, continuous improvement is along everything in the organization. However, specifically in terms of project, many organizations deliver value through project. Again, deliver value through project. They spend millions and billions of dollars on project, right? So in the project industry, not the capital project, the project industry, I forget what the number is, like multi-trillion dollars per year globally. So we spend a lot of money on projects, right? So the idea of project success and failure is not try to find something to, to kick our behind or to feel sad. It's more and less to identify areas and opportunities for improvement so we can improve those and fill those gaps that we might have. So project success and failure is to give us an assessment of where we are. So yes, there is a part of it that could be sad or it could be great, depending on where you are. But ultimately, whether you are, you're poorly performing organization or you are good performing organization, there might always be room for improvement. And I will touch back on this when I talk about the 4-dimension and why 4-dimension. So I will continue with something to think about and invite you to think about this. How can organization ensure proper project governance and optimal investment if they cannot assess? If we do a project and we never come back and assess whether those projects achieve the business objective, then are we spending our money in the right place? Is this the right governance? Is this the right investment, or is this the optimal investment? Again, think about. A few more questions to consider, and basically, do you assess the success of your project? So as an organization now, some organizations probably do not assess. So here's a question for you. And again, take your time to think about every one of them. Do you, in your project, in your organization project, assess the success of your project? If yes, how do you determine success? It might be something, if you have something very well defined, then it's easy to answer. If not, maybe you need to think about it. And do you use quantifiable measures or qualitative upon opinion-based? Basically, when we say qualitative, opinion-based surveys, asking for feedback. Hey, are you happy? Yeah, I mean, these are kind of qualitative success. If my client is happy, we're successful. That's fine. However, quantifiable will be more specific with measures, right? We include metrics, KPIs, OKR, whatever you would like to call them. There has to be specific ways of measuring or quantifying value, right? This, because at the end of the day, success, value, maybe I will use them sometime interchangeably in this session. Do you consider technical success and project management success? Or only technical, or only project management, or something else? Right? How about the strategic aspect, which is to validate the project did indeed deliver the expected value, which means the organization realizes the benefit. Now, obviously, we realize this something cannot be done probably while you are working on the project during the project life cycle, but this should be done often enough, or in most cases, could be done sometime in the future after project completion. Do you come back and assess success? Right. Indirectly, I'm introducing the topic here, but I want you to think about these key questions. And I'm sure there are many, many more questions, but let's leave it here for now. So let's shift now to talk about, we made an introduction, we identified the gaps, we identified the current state of practice. So what is the 4-dimension of project success? Before I explain them, I need to give you a bit of a background, just one slide. In 2007, while Etsukat Corp, which we were based in Dubai at that time, we launched Etsukat Corp, we launched a project management innovation program. And so basically we started mid to late 2007, we started to do some research and development work. So basically, the project management innovation was mostly about identifying issues, gaps, and innovate. Come back with new ideas to deal with some of those gaps we were identifying. So it was a research and development program, and its purpose was to address the various gaps in practice left by the community and what we saw as professional association did not cover. So we felt we need to do some work in that area. So our work led to 5 solutions. We call them 5 innovative solution or 5 R&D solution. whatever you'd like to call them. And let me just briefly introduce them. I'm not going to explain them all. We will be publishing blog articles and maybe some other materials and on our website to cover these topics. So I will not go into detail here today. But I'll just list them and briefly introduce them. So the first one is we look at organization. How do we, and there were maturity model out there. Many professional societies and associations have maturity model. However, it's they were more about assessment. So we started with something we called it the 7 element of project management maturity, which was basically about what are the 7 elements that we think are extremely important to help us build an organizational project management system. And obviously that include the methodologies. So that was more of a starting point. And then the main the solution that we work on was the customizable and adaptable methodology for managing project. And we've had videos on this, and obviously our Uruk platform started with the idea of converting this customizable and adaptable methodology. CAMP is from paper to a digital solution. To support CAMP, we created the 4-dimensional project success, which is today's topic. And we also have 2 other areas related to performance management and project control, which is the 4 control reference points, 4-dimension, 4 control reference points. They're a similar concept. And the 6 steps of performance management. How do you assess and forecast project, and you assess performance on project? Again, this presentation is only about project success. The other topics is they are addressed via separate videos or articles or other content. What I want to stress here, and this is my 1 minute or 30 seconds of marketing, all of this is being built into or already been built. Some of it already been built, like CAMP is already been built into the Uruk platform. So the digital solution we're working on is Uruk Project Management, the Uruk platform. It's a 4 p.m. kind of a platform that focuses on managing project, program, and portfolios. So basically, the project management element is based on CAMP. The 4-dimension is also related to CAMP, and that is being part of it has been built in already, and the other part we are building in within the next few weeks. And the 7 element, which is basically about the organizational project management system, these processes, basically, which mean policies, guideline processes, they are built throughout the platform. And the other 2 areas here about project performance management are being built as well. So technically, all of these R&D work that started back in 2007 is now being converted into a digital solution to help organizations lead project, program, and their portfolios. So what are the 4 dimensions? The first dimension. Now, maybe I should say here why the 4 dimension. If we work on a given project, every one of these dimensions can give us an insight about something specific about the project. So that's good value on a project. However, these become much more powerful and valuable when we look at the portfolio level. At the portfolio level, for example, if we see that most projects are doing well except in the area of technical success, D1, for example, or they're doing very well except in D2, or D3, or D4, one of those 4 dimensions. So that indicates to us that is a problem area for us that we need to fix, because in other areas we're doing well, maybe that is the area where we are weak. So in a way, at the portfolio, on a project by project level, doesn't tell me much. It just tell me how am I doing on that project or program. However, when I look at it as a portfolio level, it indicates where we might have, as an organization, consistent problem. Now, you understand what I was saying earlier. The objective is not to find the guilty and penalize people. The objective is to find where we might have systematic gaps as an organization so we can improve. So that is one of the reasons why we have the 4 dimensions. So now if we look at dimension 1, now if you look at the horizontal, the concept stage, feasibility stage, this is what we call our CAMP standard model, right? So basically, when we say standard model, that does not mean set in stone or one size fits all. It means this is a standard model, and if you go back to our videos and episode on methodology and the value delivery model, the idea behind this is need to be tailored. So from this methodology, we can develop tailored method. Those tailored methods could be 4 stages, could be 10 stages, could be 15 stages. Well, maybe 15 is too much, but depend on the size of the project and the complexity of the project and the type of the project and the industry. The number of stages would be different, and the circle with number are gate. Of course, every stage has a gate. So if we have 4 stages, we will have 4 gate. If we have 10 stages, we'll have 10 gate. In this model, we have 9 stages. The first 5 are what some organization, especially in the capital project industries, they might call them the front end, right? Because at gate 5, typically where management make the final decision to implement the project. So maybe a wake-up call. For many of us who work on construction project or software development project, the bad news, guys, is that you probably were not involved or did not exist before gate 5. Most likely, when the project reached gate 5, or if it is a small micro project, could be gate 2, right? When the project reached that approval gate, and you work on the implementation work or the software development or the actual construction, that means a lot of work should have been done already, right? So you might only be working in that area in the implementation stage. Again, it doesn't matter where you are or where you are. This is more for, if I am the project owner, my organization is the project owner organization, I probably see this entire life cycle. So now with this introduction that is applicable to all dimension, let's go into dimension 1. Now we said we make usually the final approval to go into implementation at gate 5. So usually at that point we would have a project detail plan. And the name of the detail plan could be different from industry to industry. In industrial project, they might call it FEED, front-end engineering design. In infrastructure, they might call it preliminary engineering. In real estate, they might call it architectural design. In software, they might call it the backlog or the development plan or the product vision, whatever the case might be. That means when we reach that point, that means we already have what we maybe simplifiedly call it a scope, a well-defined scope to implement. So we've reached a point where the product scope is well defined, and now we are ready to go start to implement it. Whether we build it in big bang or we're gonna build it incrementally or iteratively, it doesn't matter. We have a technical scope document, detailed, of course, the details that we need to build. So we have that, and typically, if organization follows some good quality principle, they would probably have the quality standard established as well to do that. So the project detail plan include many things. However, the main thing that I want to focus on here is that it include the scope, the product scope baseline, what need to be built. And so when we are finished, when we go through this, when we implement it and we go to operation readiness and when we do some initial operation and we do some testing, before at gate 8 in this model, when we issue the final acceptance, typically, which mean we have verified or validated that we have done the technical work. Now, I use the word technical success on the horizontal arrow, but does it mean successful? I don't know. Or what it means is that in this model at gate 8, right, when I do the final acceptance testing to accept the final product, and remember, I can accept the final product with problem. Ideally, we shouldn't, but reality is we often enough finish project with too many gaps and too many problems and too many errors, right? So we still accept it. This is why acceptance, we always stress in our literature and on my writing and my work, acceptance does not mean success. Acceptance, that means, look, I'm going to accept this product, good or bad, right? I have no choice Obviously, if it achieved everything I wanted, great. If it didn't, well, we still have to accept it. What do we do? So acceptance is not success. So we need, but however, at that point, we can assess success. Now, how do we assess success? Remember, we should have a criteria. If we don't have a criteria, then it's a matter of opinion. I ask my customer, the customer is happy, or oh, so, or whatever. That's not good enough. We need quantifiable measures. So basically, that meaning the scope, and usually this item is the primary focus of this dimension is about technical success, which means scope and quality. Did we deliver, in other words, did we deliver the product scope as designed to the quality standard? And the answer is never yes or no. It's always, there are some range, right? Now, if you included some clear quantifiable criteria with some kind of threshold and maybe an error margin, you might be able, depend on the nature of your project, you might be able to define, to determine whether you have success or failure or somewhere in between, right? I don't talk about it in this session. However, we actually have a model as well that, okay, how do we grade a project, success or failure? We can have failure, we can have success, and we can have maybe something in between, right? And one or two. Anyway, that's not the topic today, so let me leave it. Organization can decide how they want to assess. You could choose 0 or 1, right? Fail or success, or you could use also some intermediate dimension to determine, because it's never, I think, perfect. There's always some issues. So the question is, what is your threshold? What is the margin of error you're willing to allow and to consider that something is successful? Moving on to, notice we're getting bigger now, as a project management success. Now, project management success in our model, again, in your methodology, it might look a little bit differently. We define the project management plan in the strategy stage before gate 4, and we might do some update on it before gate 5. However, the primary management plan or execution plan or whatever you might want to call it is done typically around gate 4 or before gate 4, and with some minor update at gate 5. And that includes cost and schedule parameter, right? So the project management plan mostly about, in Uruk PM, 3 things: cost, duration. Now time, we break down time into 2 areas: duration and completion date. With that is typically defined with the project management plan. Now there might be other factors that we consider in the project management plan, but right now let me leave it just as the cost and time related measures or parameter. Now again, here it's easier. Now this is more easily, it's more readily quantifiable, because we can say, for example, you must come below budget, right? So if you are 100 and 0.1% over budget, that means you fail. You could do that if you want. However, usually you should leave some parameters, typically plus or minus 5% or 10% or something like this, whatever suits you. Again, we're not deciding what we're selling. What we are trying to advocate here is you should measure that success. How you measure it is up to you. We have recommendations. You can accept them or you can choose your own. So we define the project management plan that become the official project management baseline. And then usually when we are finishing the project or completing the project during the PLC closure stage, before gate 9, we would be able to do to assess that performance. So those two, dimension 1 and dimension 2, they are already built into the Uruk platform because they happen during the life cycle. Right? So you can see while we are still in the life cycle, which means the project manager and maybe some team member are still on board. However, the challenge comes that, okay, and I'm sure many organizations do this. So the question when we see online posts on talk about project success, what are we talking about? Are we talking about project management success, technical success, or something else? For us, there are 2 more something else. Okay? So let's see the first one here. The first one is At gate 2, after just maybe it's good to give you some reference here. In the concept stage, we typically develop the what and why and where of the project. So that's the business case is at the concept stage. And then in the feasibility stage, where we conduct a detailed feasibility assessment to determine whether the project is feasible and we should continue to go proceed with it. And notice we separate the business case from feasibility. A business case, that means about there is a need for the project. Feasibility is, okay, we know there is a need, we have proven that, right? Now, can we deliver it successfully? And if we can't, we should cancel the project. So in a way, the feasibility study is the first kind of risk assessment exercise we do on the project overall. However, let's say we go, so usually with the feasibility study, if it's done, and here where references like the PMBOK guide and ISO and others, they say we issue a project charter, we call it the project authorization document at gate 2. So typically that first part, which we call the discovery phase, in most of these literature it doesn't exist. For us, it does exist. So here, what we are saying here, we have the sponsor or the project owner, the owner representative, let's put it that way, is basically publish a project authorization to authorize the project team to go ahead and do the project. And usually they put some criteria and specific what need to be done. So in this case, we have already decided we have a product, a solution that we want to work on, and that's what we call it the product delivery success. Now, when can we measure this? Well, obviously, at gate 9 in this model, we would know whether we have achieved D1 and D2. So on some project, achieving D1 and D2, that may be all what we need. We can say D3 is already achieved. However, in some situations, that may not be the case, and we might not be able to decide on success on this one until a short period after the completion of the project. So depend on what you include in this measure. It could be measured at gate 9 or slightly after, or sometime in the future, weeks or months after completion of the project. Again, it all depends on what you include and the type of the nature of the project. The most important dimension from an owner organization perspective is this last one, is what we call objective success. Notice we shifted the project, now the starting point, instead of being the charter, right, or the project authorization, because the project authorization is how the sponsor visualize the product that need to be done, whereas in the concept include the business case and the objective and the business objective of the project. And that is what we document via a document, we call it project brief. So that is the ultimate objective. Why are we launching the project? What are we expecting to achieve? What are the benefits that we anticipate to realize, right? All of these things are defined usually in the business case, in the project brief. And again, something like this for sure, we will not be able to assess in most cases at project closure. Most of this have to be sometime and maybe even years in the future. And this is why we believe, now I don't have any empirical evidence to prove it, where we believe many organizations do not do this, right? They might indirectly do it. Why? Because obviously the project team is gone, and it might be months or year after the project is complete. People had forgotten, and we are operating already, right? So we might not be able to do it. There may not be specific exercise that the organization does to determine, because it may become part of the operational aspect of the organization and the operational profitability. So in this case, this is the most critical for a project owner, and it's about value, right? At the end of the day, this is a value delivery model. Now, looking at all four together, right? Remember, we have technical success, project management success, product delivery success, and objective success. Now, again, I remind you, I'm not getting into the actual determination of success, the criteria we use, because that is totally dependent on the vector, sector, domain, industry, organization, preferences of an organization. So we cannot really get into those areas. So there are three things when we talk about project success. There are the four dimensions that we included here. There is the criteria, which we cannot talk about because that's highly sensitive. And there is the grading measure. How do you grade success? How do you determine how, or, so basically is it like, in college we have A, B, C, or D, or F, right? And here, you could do A, B, C, D, or F, or you can do failed success, FS, or you can have, as I said earlier, failure, successful, and then maybe one or two data points in between criteria. So you really need to think about three things, right? Again, 4-dimension, criteria, and the guide for scoring. So what you can see here, remember, on project by project, that's good to know. All of these dimensions give us good enough information about how are we doing as a project. However, as an organization, remember, my objective in my business is not only one project, there are multiple projects in program. So the value of something like this, if we do portfolio management and if we capture the data from all the projects, it can tell me if I have a problem in technical success. Maybe every project, hey, we do something, we have a great project management team, we always finish on time, on budget. However, we might be sacrificing quality or sacrificing scope. Remember the triple constraint we keep talking about sometime? Or we might say, no, quality and scope is must, and as a result, project management cost and schedule will suffer. We need to know that if that happened on one project, it's anomaly. It's basically things that we do. There may be project circumstances, have to push us in one direction or another. However, if we are consistently seeing problem with D1 or D2 or D3, now, why D3, if it is a problem, what does it mean? That means we as an organization, the team that is working early on in the project, in the discovery phase, stage 1 and 2, they are not doing a good job in defining the product that align with the objective. Right? The team, they could deliver the project with D1 successful, meaning what? They have achieved technical success, they achieved quality success, they achieved D2, project management success. So as an organization, we could have done a great job in delivering the project on time, on budget, or within the parameter we set for on time, on budget, on quality, on scope, but we delivered the wrong product. Think about that. Let it sink in. We could have done a great job in delivering the project on time, on scope, on quality, on cost, but we delivered the wrong product. That means we misunderstand the market. We don't, in startup now, I'm learning a new terminology as I work in startup, we call it product market fit, right? We are, right now as a company, Uruk, right now we are going exactly through that right now. So that is the part of where we've reached the level where we have built, we think, a great product. We have getting to the point where now we need to verify the vision that the product we built is fit the market needs. Right? So maybe we, Munir, in this case, made a mistake. Maybe we assumed or we made the wrong mistake. If we don't get the product market fit, then maybe we built a product that nobody needs, right? Or it could become a wonderful, and everybody would be jumping on a Uruk platform and save them a lot of money, millions and billions of dollars as a community. And of course, we believe in that. Otherwise, we would not exist. So I gave that as an example, as a personal example, because it's very powerful in my view, because often enough, the vision, how do we translate the vision into a product? We might not do it very well. Ideation, innovation, whatever you call the practices we use at that time, we have a vision of achieving certain benefit that and that is what the realized benefit we anticipate, which we do it with the project brief. However, when we translate that into a specific product, we might not do it very well. As a result, we don't get the product market fit. We don't get the benefit we expect. So in that case, we look at those areas. So that means, again, on project by, I repeat myself multiple times because I want to emphasize the point. On a project by project basis, this is a good information to have. The power of this when you use it as a portfolio, part of the portfolio management, because you can start to see if on average 50, 60, 70% of your project struggle with D3 or D2 or D1 or D4, right? That means that's a major area that hindering your performance in becoming a center of excellence or becoming where project management could be a highly competitive advantage to you as an organization. That allow you to see the gaps that you must pay attention to. Just another way of looking at the 4 dimension. And with this, we say thank you. Please follow us you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can you subscribe to our blog site. You'll find all that information from Uruk PM. Thank you and wish you success today, tomorrow, and always.